Pittsburgh Steelers running back Jaylen Warren is the real deal, and he brings explosive plays to the Pittsburgh Steelers offense and the run game. So, Jaylen Warren going against the Buffalo Bills in the preseason game just on Saturday, he had a really good game. And when I say he had a really good game, it only came off of one rush. He had one rush, and it was a long one for 62 yards and a touchdown. He brings explosive plays to the Steelers offense because when you think of the running back position over the last few years, and Naji Harris specifically, Naji Harris isn't that running back who's going to be explosive for the team, have that long run where he breaks it off for a long gain, but he's going to be that more of a physical back in between the offensive line, not break it to the outside and stay in between the tackles and gain yards like 4 here and there. But he's not a home run hitter. So having Jaylen Warren on the team, a guy who could do that, be physical and gain those 1 to 2 yards when needed, but also break off a huge run because he is an explosive back and he is fast and he is physical, that's a really good thing for the Steelers offense and for the coming season. So, last season, when Jaylen Warren made the Pittsburgh Steelers roster, he came in as an undrafted free agent, meaning that he did not even get drafted in the NFL draft. So, he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. It seems like whenever he runs determined and he runs angry. He knows what he wants to do. He's not one of these backs who come into the league who are undrafted, who don't know how to run the ball. He comes in knowing what to do and knowing that he just needs to gain yards. He's not no fancy running back. He's not a guy who's going to go juke you out, go run to the outside, run all the way back, make so many moves in the backfield just to get open. He knows what he wants to do. He wants to run north and south, meaning that he's going to run straight ahead. He might break it to the outside sometimes, but he mostly wants to run in between the tackles and wants to be physical and wants to get a good gain. He's not worried about juking you out, making these fancy plays, stiff arming, jumping over, just making guys fall to the ground. He just wants to run through you and gain as much yards as possible. And he does that to his best ability, and it has been working out so far for him, and that's why he made the team. That's why he made the roster as an undrafted guy. Who would have thought? The Steelers drafted Anthony McFarland Jr. in the 3rd round, I believe, a few years back, and last season they kept Jaylen Warren, an undrafted free agent, over him. So they obviously like what he brings to the table, and they knew it from day one that he could be a really good back and help Naji Harris and help his offense make plays and be just an explosive person for the Steelers offense. Jaylen Warren, as a rookie last season, he played in 16 games for the team. He started 0 of them, but in the rushing game, he had 77 attempts for 379 yards. He also had 1 touchdown, but there's many more times where he could have had a touchdown, but the Steelers would have just put in Naji Harris on the goal line and gave the long run that Jaylen Warren had, but finished it off with Naji Harris. So he could have had more touchdowns, but he only had 1. And in the receiving game, he had 33 targets, and he caught 28 of the passes for 217 yards and also 0 touchdowns. So he's really good at 7.6 yards per reception, and in the running game, he's really good at 4.9 yards per carry. So that's a really good stat line for him, especially for a rookie who many probably thought that he wouldn't even play at all because he came into the season as a 3rd running back on the roster. If you remember Benny Snell, he was a 2nd running back, but the Steelers end up using him, Jaylen Warren, as a 2nd running back because they saw more from him than they saw from Benny Snell. So then Benny Snell just became just a special teams guy. But that's not even where Jaylen Warren really stood out the most, because when you watch Jaylen Warren play, especially in the preseason, where he earned his stripes and probably helped him make the team and caught the coach's eye, was in the pass blocking. Whenever he was pass blocking against a defensive lineman, he was able to stand them up and hold his own and allow Kenny Pickett or whoever else was at quarterback at the time, like Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, able to have time to throw. And that's really good, especially for, like I keep saying, undrafted free agents, because he's being forceful and he's being physical, standing his own in the pass blocking. Usually running backs who are small, running backs who are not drafted, running backs who probably you don't expect much from, aren't going to be as physical or as good in the pass blocking. But he was being able to show that, and that's one of the reasons why he stood out and even made the roster. Yes, we saw some flashes in the run game, flashes in the receiving game, but the pass blocking is what made him stand out. Him being physical and not being scared and being able to put his helmet down and hit someone is what made him stud out. And then he got more opportunity. He got opportunities in the rushing game, and then he held his own. He got opportunities in the receiving game, and then he showed out. So he kept getting more opportunities, and then he kept making the most out of it. And now that's why people consider him a 1A and 1B kind of Naji Harris and Jaylen Warren running back for the Steelers. I want to make a separate video about Naji Harris and Jaylen Warren together and why the duo of them can be really nice for the team and just even Jaylen Warren in specific. But I want to say this. Jaylen Warren, even though he's a backup running back right now, I believe that he could be a starter in this league. And maybe in a few years, he could even overtake Naji Harris as a starter or even just be a 1,000-yard running back because he shows the power, he shows the physicality, he shows that he's determined and be physical in the pass blocking, but more than that, he's able to receive the ball out of the backfield, which is so good for a running back, and also he's able to run the ball, both in between the tackles and break it to the outside. He's a physical back who get you 1 and 2 yards when needed, but he's also a guy who could take it to the house on a long run, and that's what we saw versus the Buffalo Bills this past Saturday in week 2 of preseason. So I truly believe that Naji Harris, Jaylen Warren, those are going to be a really good duo for this year, and I would even compare them to like Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. I understand Tony Pollard, he's more of an explosive running back. He's more elusive than Naji Harris and Jaylen Warren. But I believe the role that they could be playing is basically Naji Harris is Ezekiel Elliott, even though I believe he's better than Ezekiel Elliott. And Jaylen Warren, he's Tony Pollard role. So all in all, if the Steelers offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, is able to call the right plays and use the running backs to their fullest potential, I believe the Steelers' running game this year can be really good. They improved the offensive line for the run blocking. They added Isaac Seumalo to the roster. He's been really good with the Eagles, so he should help a lot. And now it's just another year altogether. And James Daniels, he's getting more used to the Steelers' offense. Mason Cole, he's getting more used to the Steelers' offensive line as well. So the Steelers have added guys to the offensive line, another year together. And now Matt Canada, if he's able to use Naji Harris, use Jaylen Warren to their fullest potential, the Steelers' run game should be really good. And Jaylen Warren, he brings explosiveness to the Steelers' offense, and I believe he could be a really great running back in this league for years to come. But with that being said, let me know down in the comments below. How do you feel about this? How do you believe or feel about me saying that Jaylen Warren is an explosive running back and he could be really good for future years to come? Do you believe he's just a second running back, second option, or do you believe that he could even be a first option running back and a 1A for a team in the NFL and be a starter caliber? Let me know your thoughts on Jaylen Warren and this Pittsburgh Steelers running game this season. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well if you like Steelers content, analysis reports, news, highlights, everything like that. I cover everything Steelers football, and if you want one spot to stay up to date with your Steelers and everything to do with the team, this is a spot, this is a channel for it. If you want to watch videos and don't want to have to read stuff, this is a spot. I bring you every news that drops, and I keep you up to date with everything. So, moving forward, we're starting the regular season really soon, and I'm going to be covering it all. I already covered all of off-season, and I'll continue to do so as we roll into next off-season as well. But before we get into the regular season, if you guys want to comment a video idea of me covering a certain player or certain team prospect or aspect of the team, let me know down in the comments below as well. So, like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications for the channel, click the bell down below, and I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.